Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about obelisks, and I want to go through my method for how I choose obelisks to reroll, and then how I upgrade obelisks to 6 stars, depending on which stats they have as the primary stat, and whether I'm looking for a PvE or PvP obelisk. And for this video's case, I'll use Archangel as an example. I've got just a really straightforward ignore dodge 140 fear proc obelisk, but I'll basically go through the steps of if I was looking for an obelisk for him, what would I be looking for and what would I be trying to do. Obviously this kind of content is a little bit more geared towards newer players, but even some of the veterans might be able to get something out of this in terms of min-maxing their obelisk re-rolling and their obelisk building up to 6 stars. So I have a lot of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Like I have a lot of everything because I was rolling for CTPs of Rage. So what I would do first is, because I don't like to use the auto upgrade option, I go through and I look just at the orange stat here, and I look for I look for guard break immunity. It happens right at the end of the immunity stats, so if you don't see anything after web immunity, if it goes right into mind damage, I believe, yeah. Or if it goes, if it just skips, you basically just have to find the last one. It would be right here in between these two. Or this one would be guard break immunity because it comes right after web. So I don't have any in the 5, 4, or 3 star variety. We keep going to the 2 star variety. We got mind damage and snare, no webbing, no guard break. So we basically don't have any guard break immunity obelisks, which I would, in my case, is the #1 obelisk because it's flexible for PvP and I can still roll a damage proc on it and it can still be good. So for example, I have this one, guard break, lightning damage 160. I locked it because it's definitely good enough. It'll give you the lightning damage and the proc for someone like Nebula or even like a tier 2 Thor, but then it'll give you the guard break immunity if you need to use them for PvP or if you just don't like getting guard broken in ABX or in other game modes. Very similarly, we've got a guard break cold damage 180. So generally speaking, guard break is the #1 stat to roll on a primary obelisk because if you get something that's PvP like this, guard break, ignore dodge 3 seconds, it's very, very good. And then if you get something offensive like this, it's still good the majority of the time. Additionally, you will create additional guard break obelisks that are bad, like this one, guard break, crit rate, shockwave. And then you can use them to re-roll, and so in that case you get more chances to get more guard break obelisks. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have, let's say, 3 guard break obelisks that are not good, and you have a couple of other ones that you got from Shadowland or just login events that don't have guard break as the first stat, like this one is ignore dodge cold damage 140, you're not going to use this. You can re-roll your guard break, you can change the option, and you can use one of these other ones, and you'll basically get a second chance to get a good guard break obelisk. So that's basically the first step for what I like to do. If there's no guard break immunity, my second choice is ignore dodge. And ignore dodge I choose because it's a good offensive stat, and right now I'm trying to gear out more of my characters for Shadowland so that they can get through the stages more easily, and ignore dodge tends to be the best stat, especially for my tier 1 characters. A couple of other good secondary stats besides guard break immunity that you can consider, of course, crit damage and crit rate are both very, very good. I think crit damage is probably a little bit better because it pretty easily mirrors a lot of the strong CTPs like destruction and energy. I don't actually have any crit damage, which is insane. Oh, actually, sorry, it comes before crit damage. I thought it came after. I was like, how do I have 0 crit damage obelisks? But it comes first before crit rate on the kind of the way that this is auto alphabetized and auto sorted. So you just have to memorize the sorting for those specific stats. Some other stats that I sometimes look for, recovery rate. Sometimes if I'm going to try to roll a recovery rate, guard break immunity, invincibility obelisk, but now with the CTP of regen, and because I have so many CTPs of regen, I kind of stopped doing that. Also, max HP is not bad for Shadowland either, same with dodge. Both of those are, not as good, but if you can get a bad tier 1 character like Whiplash to survive because they have dodge on their obelisk or because they have a bit of extra max HP, that's really not a bad idea. I think I gave one to one of these characters just to let them survive a little bit longer. Yeah, he's got an 18% dodge. She's got nothing. Some of them, yeah, he's got 20% dodge as well. So that's kind of the idea. So in Archangel's case, what I would probably start off by doing is taking a look at his stats, or his skills rather. He doesn't have any elemental attack except for the poison damage on his uniform effect, but that's 25%. It's just nothing, and it's 5 seconds with a 10-second cooldown, so it's only going to trigger, let's say, half the time with a 35% chance. Anyways, it's not worth building for that. It's just not enough damage, 25%. But the good thing about Archangel is you can use him for PvP or PvE, and Wing Shield in particular has the heal, the max HP recovery, the 17% heal. So you're probably going to want to build him with that heal in mind. So you can either go with max HP if you want that, or you can go with recovery rate. Recovery rate is probably going to be a little bit more flexible. Max HP seems like it's going to be more defensive overall. So then from there you would go ahead and find the obelisk that you want and you'd re-roll. Generally what you want to do, or what I want to do anyways when I'm re-rolling, when I'm combining up obelisks, is I start with the high ones that you have first. The reason why you start high instead of starting low, if you have the option to, like if you have multiple different 5-star and 4-stars, is because they're already at 5 stars or 4 stars. So if you get, let's say, a Shadowland 4-star obelisk reward and it's got crit rate and you want a 6-star crit rate obelisk, you should start re-rolling this one. You should start upgrading this one from 4 stars. Why would you start with a 2-star crit rate obelisk that you have to then upgrade to 3-star and then 4-star? You're just wasting those extra materials that you otherwise could save. So I always check from the top first. In this case, let's say I want this crit rate obelisk because I don't have any crit damage. I want to get this at 6 stars. I want to see if I can get a nice crit rate damage proc for Archangel. Let's say I get a 200 proc. So I would then go and upgrade. Generally speaking, you want to use the bad 5, 4, 3, and 2 and 1-star obelisks for upgrading. But because of what I just explained in terms of starting with a high star level obelisk, if you only have good obelisks left at 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 stars, then you want to start with 1-star obelisks. Now, most of the time, you're not going to have enough obelisks to upgrade a 5-star all the way up to 6 stars, because it takes, I think it takes like 80. Let's see how many it takes. 20 is 25%. Yeah, so it takes 80 1-star obelisks to get a 5 to 6 stars. Generally speaking, you're not going to have that many saved up. But if you use, let's say, all of the 5-star ones, yes, it's faster, and you'll see me do this on stream because I'm not, necessarily worried about min-maxing anymore. But if you are trying to min-max, then this is the least efficient method. Because if any of these are good or even possibly good, you're losing the opportunity to roll them up to 6 stars. And so you're losing that base 5-star obelisk by combining it in terms of creating another new 6-star obelisk. So in that case, what I usually do when I am trying to min-max is I usually start at 3 stars. When I'm trying to upgrade a 5-star, that's usually kind of a reasonable place to start. I start with the ones at the beginning because those are going to be the useless stats, the immunity to snare, the immunity to fear, these kinds of web, just ones that I don't want. And then I'll work my way down to 2-star obelisks as well. Again, we're going to go for the bad stats that are auto sorted to the beginning, the immunity stats, snare, web, movement speed, etc. Okay, this is mind damage. Maybe that will be useful. And we're about halfway. That's not bad. Keep in mind that certain stats are not found on 1-star obelisks, so you're generally better off just for 1 stars. You don't really need to be as specific, and as you don't have to go through them. And I didn't go through my 1-star obelisks when I was checking for good stats, because the other problem with keeping 1-star obelisks is you're going to have to roll them to 2-star and then 3-star and then 4-star and then 5-star and then 6-star. So even if you're just starting from 2-star, you're automatically saving, it's, I think, 5 1-star obelisks. So another example here, let me re-roll this. Let me combine this up to 100% before I explain this one more time. I feel like it's a bit of a difficult concept. That's why I'm trying to explain it multiple different ways. But it took me, years to kind of figure this out myself. So this is just a bad obelisk straight up. It's got like offensive, defensive, but none of these are good. These are like tier 2 or tier 3 or tier 4 abilities. So this is just garbage, just trash. Anyways, so for example, if I wanted to start with a crit damage obelisk, I could start with a 2-star crit damage obelisk here. Let's say this is 22%, and I could start building this up to 6 stars. However, I could go down to the bottom here, and I could find another crit damage obelisk at 1 star. Now, if you don't have a 2-star and you only have a 1-star option available to you, then you know what? You just have to make that decision. But in this case, if I start with this 1-star crit damage and I upgrade it, I'm going to need to use 5 1-stars to make it 2-star. If I start with a 2-star, I don't have to do that. So it's always better to start with a higher star obelisk because you're going to save all of the materials of other obelisks that you're sacrificing by not having to get back up to that point. So even if you get, stats that you're not necessarily looking for, you can consider rolling them up to 6 stars if they have a chance at being good, crit rate, especially if you're like an intermediate player, you don't have tons of obelisks. But if you're always just sacrificing all of your, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., just for anything guard break, you're missing out on more opportunities to just get more obelisks. So in this case, crit rate, not the best stat for me. I could use this to combine another obelisk, but it's already at 5 stars. So I can make the decision that I don't need poison resist or lightning resist at all. There's no way I'm going to roll up these resist obelisks. Lightning resist again, fire resist. These are probably like some of the worst you can get in the game. So I will re-roll them. And again, we got a bad obelisk, but I got another attempt at getting an obelisk that was good. And this is basically the strategy that I use to manage my inventory of obelisks. At this point, there aren't any that I necessarily want at all. So from here, I would consider saving these as fodder and then moving on to 4-star. And I'd probably just roll this ignore dodge obelisk and then see what I get. And the good thing about it is it always takes 4 of the same star level to get to the next star level unless it's 1 star. So it takes 4 5-stars to get a 5-star to 6-star. It takes 4 4-stars to get a 4-star to 5-star, etc., etc. I don't have any need for any of these max HPs, but the all defense is actually a little bit worse than the max HP for like a bad Shadowland character, so I'll consider rerolling this one instead. And we got another bad obelisk. Generally speaking, you're going to get something bad, but if you use those tips that I've suggested to you, I think you'll be able to end up with more obelisks. And especially when you're in that kind of early to mid level of Marvel Future Fight, you don't really have the choice, you don't have the option to be picky when it comes to what obelisks you get. So you're just looking for one good main stat, guard break immunity, or offensively crit rate, crit damage, defensively besides guard break immunity, max HP. Secondarily, you could go for something like ignore dodge. And then from there, you're hoping to see a big damage proc, or you're hoping to see invincibility. If you get invincibility as well as guard break, then you've got something amazing. Here, we could save these ignore dodge ones and roll these max HP ones instead. But otherwise, it's generally better, as I've explained, to start with the 1-stars. So we're just going to flush these down. It also helps me trim down my inventory. As you can see, I'm kind of maxed out on inventory even with the shield support because of all these. So again, this one, it's awkward. If this had been guard break, this would be a much better obelisk, but because we've got 1 offensive stat and then 2 defensive stats, dodge and invincibility, it's just kind of pulling you in too many directions. It's kind of like, a knife with what's it called when a car crashes? The airbags. It's like a knife with an airbag around it. You can't really do too much. You're not going to do enough damage for it to be good offensively, and it's not going to protect you enough defensively to actually matter. So in that case, it just becomes fodder to reroll another obelisk, or if you're lucky enough to have a CTP and it's got bad stats, reroll the CTP. Never use CTPs to reroll other CTPs. I don't know why I said that, but I feel like it's a nice PSA to throw at the end of this video. Let me know what you think of those. Let me know what you're rolling for next on your obelisks, or if you've got any juicy ones with kind of unique stats or kind of max rolls, show me on Twitter, etc., Discord. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again today. Take care.